management committee, together with venerable monks and the members of the World Buddhist Society, every year organize this beautiful and meaningful Dāna ceremony out of great compassion for those who seek merits, in order to share the merits with all of them, wishing every one of them the well-being and happiness. Part of this process of taking merit is a Dhamma talk. Life is well understood when one understands the Dhamma. Life is well lived when one practices the Dhamma. Life is well utilized when one realizes the Dhamma. The precious Dhamma taught by the Buddha is a path of transformation. It leads us on the spiritual path for awakening. So friends, this is such a precious opportunity for all of us to come together as a united congregation to practice the Dhamma together. This is also a moment for all of us to realize how blessed, how lucky we are as human beings. Human life, though it is very short, human life is so precious. Human beings are exceptionally brilliant and intelligent. We have the most favorable conditions for awakening. Human beings are highly evolved beings who have evolved to highest states on this planet. There's no other living species can be compared with the human species when it comes to this evolution. From the Buddhist point of view, human beings are highly evolved forces and energies which Buddha recognized as 5 aggregates. 5 types of forces come together, and these functionally unified psychophysical forces that we recognize as human beings are capable of producing specifically 2 types of forces. One is known as powerful, negative, destructive, unwholesome types of karmic force that human beings are capable of producing. When our mind is energized with these negative, destructive, unwholesome forces, whatever the actions we do with our speech and body, they all produce this destructive force. Power, dark karmic force. Generally speaking, these are the actions which are ethically blameworthy, spiritually bringing you downward, socially destructive, bringing a lot of unhappiness and miseries, and karmically bringing you downward to be born in lower realms, such as animal realms or in hungry ghost realms and other lower planes of existence. So the Buddha's advice for his wise followers is to avoid producing these dark karmic forces. He said, Sabba papatsa akarana. Refrain from producing the dark karmic forces. Human beings are also capable of producing another types of force which are positive, constructive, and wholesome. When our mind is energized with wholesome forces such as kindness, compassion, goodwill, friendship, generosity, such forces create conditions for these wholesome karmic force the Buddha recognized as punya, merits, to be generated in our system. Generally speaking, we produce these force through actions which are ethically praiseworthy, commendable, socially beneficial, which bring happiness to other humans and to the other living beings, spiritually uplifting, make us move forward, upward on the path of the Buddha, and karmically productive, bring wholesome results, bliss and happiness. The Buddha's advice for wise human beings is to produce, cultivate, generate these types of force. Kusalasa prasampada. Wherever possible, generate these wholesome karmic force. So today, this Dāna ceremony is done to produce merits. And also it is motivated by great compassion because we are also going to share the merits. The departed beings and the Beta beings, whoever seeking merits out of compassion for them. So Bhakti Dāna, sharing merit itself is another meritorious act. In Vittara Sutta, Buddha categorically speaks there are 4 types of karma, actions. One is dark actions with dark results. So these are the actions, as I mentioned, produce dark karmic forces which lead to lower realms, to be born in lower realms. Second is bright actions with bright results. These are generally wholesome actions which bring bliss and happiness in this life. They also will lead us to be born in favorable realms, either as human beings or divine beings, devas. Dark and bright actions with dark and bright results. These are the actions sometimes we do with mixed feelings, mixed motives. When we do such actions, we have got both good and bad qualities. So they tend to have both types of forces. And when we experience them, we experience both good and bad. Finally, neither dark nor bright action with no dark or bright consequences. These are the actions which lead to destruction of the karmic links, our attachment. So these are the actions purely intended to uproot the defilements and get rid of attachment which culminate in enlightenment. So friends, this is an actions that we are going to do today, which is bright action which leads to bright results and also create favorable conditioning for us to cultivate further to attain awakening enlightenment. So be happy and joyful that you got this wonderful opportunity. Now as human beings, even though we are fortunate, even though we have favorable conditions for awakening and moving upward and forward on a spiritual path, we also should not neglect that within the human mind we have potential capacity to be an evil, wicked, unwholesome types of beings. You have the seed to become a devil. You have seed to become a hungry ghost. You have seed to become an animal. You have seed to become a bodhisattva. You have seed to become fully enlightened Buddha. So the human mind is capable and full of lot of forces and lot of potentials. It entirely depends on ourselves how we want to nurture our potential capacities. Therefore, the Buddha emphasized cultivating the mind, uplifting the mind in a wholesome way. He specifically warned us developing and cultivating the seed which are leading to spring forth in lower realms as animals or hungry ghosts or in the other lower types of lives. In Bala Pandita Sutta, the Buddha very specifically says that once you are born in these lower realms, it is very hard for you to come out from these lower realms and regain the human consciousness. To be born as human, it's so hard. So friends, we should not develop the seeds which leads to be born in lower realms. Then now is the time. In Kukkura Vatika Sutta, we come across a very interesting story. There are two ascetics. One of them is Seniya, the other one is Buddha. In the time of the Buddha, some ascetics believed that by disciplining body and mind through severe, austere practices, they can train themselves to be born in higher realms in the cycle of existence. So these ascetics, of course, believed disciplining body and mind, but in a harsher, very difficult ways. These are known as Atta-Kilamatani Yoga, inflicting pain and suffering on one's body-mind complex, and through that disciplining the body and mind. Buddha, in his first sermon, recognized these practices as dukkho anariyo anatta samhito, painful, which is not noble, it doesn't lead to noble states. Anatta samhita, futile, useless. However, there were people who practiced such practices. So these two ascetics, one of them was practicing dog asceticism. The other one was practicing ox asceticism. Simply, the one who practiced dog asceticism eat like a dog, walk like a dog, sleep like a dog, and do everything like a dog. The other one followed exactly the behavior, lifestyle of an ox. And they strongly believed by observing such austere practices, they can discipline their body, they can discipline their mind, and after the death they will be born as devas in divine realms. So both of them came to the Buddha and expressed their desire to be born as divine beings and said and asked whether it is possible for them to be born in divine realms by practicing the way that they have been doing. The Buddha's answer was very straightforward, pragmatic, simple, and he said, as a human being, having achieved highly evolved consciousness as human beings, if you still train your mind to be a dog, if you develop the mindset of a dog or mindset of a cow, and if you adhere to it, practice it diligently, after the death, surely you will become a dog. Surely you will become a cow. But if you believe that you are going to be born as a divine being, this is wrong belief, ignorance. So friends, this discourse gives us the right answer to the question, where will I be born? That of course depends on how you train your mind. So those human beings in human planes, though they possess this precious human life, they were to live like a hungry ghost here and now. After the death, they will be born as a hungry ghost. Because you are training the mind of a hungry ghost. So who are the human beings who are training their mind to be a hungry ghost? These are the human beings who are full of greed, which are excessive greed, too much attachment, self-centered, blind desire, which are very narrowed, self-centered, and greedily attached to everything, holding to everything. And they do not see anything good. Their mind is covered with these negative forces. Even though they are endowed with power, wealth, glory, name, whatsoever those things, they do not use them. They hold to them. They do not share them. So these are also the human beings who tend to develop negative forces in the mind. They are full of jealousy, full of avarice, full of greed, full of attachment, and narrow-minded, and they tend to be very unhappy, miserable here and now. They see only the negative side. They do not have the ability to see the bigger picture. So if you were to develop a mindset such as that, and also on top of it were to do unwholesome actions for the sake of achieving these things, of course you are producing negative karmic forces which leads to be born in the lower realm. So friends, we need to cultivate a mind of a bodhisattva, a mind of a divine being, mind of a superior human being, being kind, compassionate, having generosity, and developing ourselves on the path of the Buddha towards awakening. There is another discourse I would like to emphasize here, because in that discourse, the Buddha encouraged all the lay followers to develop 5 types of spiritual wealth. And Buddha guaranteed that those who develop these 5 spiritual wealth, after the death, they will be born as humans or divines in favorable realms. This sutta is known as Patama Mahanama Sutta. Very interesting discourse. In that discourse, we come across Mahanama, a Sakyan, went to the Buddha and said this: Lord, this Kapilavatthu city is very populous, full of people, full of activities, very prosperous and very active. When I came out of the city and entered to the monasteries to visit the Buddha and pay my homage and visit the other Sangha members and pay my respect, and after that, when I entered the city in the evening to go home, sometimes I come across stray elephant, or sometimes I come across stray horse, or a chariot without a charioteer is running in high speed. Or sometimes I come across those people who are violent. In such occasions, fear arises in my mind. What will happen if that elephant were to kill me? What will happen if that horse were to kill me? What will happen if these violent human beings were to kill me? So I have fear of death. At that time, I forget the project. I forget about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sāṅghika. My mind becomes muddled and confused. Lord, what will happen if I were to die in such an occasion with muddled mind, with confused mind? What did the Buddha say? Buddha said, don't be afraid, Mahalama. Don't be afraid. Your death will not be a bad one. You will definitely be born in favorable wealth. The reason is that you have fortified your mind, cultivated your mind, energized your mind with these 5 qualities. Saddha, Sila, Sutta, Chaga, Panya. Saddha here means confidence in the Triple Gems. Faith in the Triple Gems. This is not blind faith. This is the faith arise in your mind when you see the Dhamma, when you reflect the great qualities of the Buddha. Confidence arises in your mind. When you are full of faith, you are rooted in Triple Gems. You have confidence in the Buddha, and you will confidently follow his path. You have respect towards the Triple Gems. All of you are full of faith. If you do not have faith, you are not here today. So friends, faith is a spiritual quality. It's a power. It's a wealth. Sila is morality. As long as you uphold righteous principles as dignified human beings, basically avoid evil and live a decent human life as decent human beings, you are having Sila, a moral conduct, morally pure human being. Among millions of human beings, you all are very pure in that sense. You all are upholding righteous principles. Be proud of yourself. In this case, you have Sila. This is a spiritual force. Sutta, learning the Dhamma here. When you attend Dhamma classes, when you attend Dhamma talks, when you attend these kind of religious events, ceremonies, you will listen to the Dhamma. You will learn the Dhamma. When you read the suttas, when you read the books, through all these, you are developing your Dhamma knowledge. This Dhamma knowledge, which comes as theoretical forms, will slowly transform your mind. When you hear the Dhamma more and more and more, your mind will incline with the teachings of the Buddha. So you will have necessary wholesome software in your system which govern your thinking, speech, and physical behavior. When you learn the Dhamma, that becomes a spiritual force within your system, you will generally incline to the path of the Buddha, to the Noble Eightfold Path. It's a spiritual force. You are endowed with it. If you do not have it now, start cultivating it now. Chaga, generosity. Instead of being self-centered, you develop a kind of attitudes towards the world and other species, human beings and others, a liberal, open-minded. You can embrace many human beings. You can embrace many other living beings. You have empathy and compassion so that you become chaga, generous. You can become generous with whatever material things you are having. You will share with others with your capacity and ability, wishing them also well-being and happiness. You might share your knowledge. You might share your wholesome views. You might encourage others. You are moving away from self-centered blind attachment. you practice Dāna. When you practice giving, whatsoever you are going to give out of compassion and goodwill, that encourage, target. That is what you are going to do here today. When you are practicing Dāna today, you become more generous. And generous actions will produce merits which bring bliss and happiness. And the fifth one is Panya, wisdom. Now, look at all these. You have faith, uphold righteous principles, learn the Dhamma, practice Dāna. When you practice these four enforce your right understanding, your wisdom. Wisdom comes gradually when you follow the path of the Buddha. You become wiser, you become less attached. You will understand transient nature of this existence. When you practice more and more, your wisdom becomes deeper and deeper. There are three stages of development. First stage is Sutta Maya Panya, wisdom born through learning the Dhamma. Dhamma will make you a better human being, wiser human being. But this is theoretical understanding. But when you deeply reflect the Dhamma, your wisdom develops to another level called Chintamaya Panya. This is the wisdom born through mindful reflection. The type of wisdom which will develop eventually when practitioners follow the path is Bhavanamaya Panya. Wisdom born through meditation. So when you adopt meditation practices such as mindfulness on breath, loving kindness meditation, awareness of death, reflection of the Buddha, or many other types of meditations. All these meditations help you to develop your wisdom. So friends, you are endowed with these 5 spiritual forces, 5 spiritual wealth. So Buddha recognized if you train your mind in this way, after the death, you will be born in favorable realms. So in the sutta itself, the Buddha gives a simile. He says to Mahanama, suppose Mahanama, you were to sink a pot which is full of ghee or oil in the water. After sinking it in the water, you will break it. What will happen? The ghee or the oil will come up to the surface of the water, but these shards and the other pieces of the pot will sink to the bottom. The Buddha said, in the same manner, when the death happens, your body will collapse to the ground, your body will be rotten or eaten by animals or burnt or buried or whatsoever. But the mind will move on. It will go to higher states. Will be born as a human or divine being. So friends, train your mind with these 5 spiritual forces well. And the Buddha further said in Sāṅghika Sutta that those human beings who cultivate these 5 spiritual wealth, which is faith, morality, learning, generosity, and wisdom, these people also have a kind of ability to decide their rebirth. It means if you train your mind with these 5, and then if you wish to be born as humans or divines, you can make such strong aspirations each and every time when you engage in these kind of religious activities. You can make that aspiration and you can be born in such realm. So friends, today we all got together here as united congregations, as followers of the Buddha, as members of one Buddhist society, to engage in this wholesome action, to share the merits with all our departed relatives and friends, as well as those who are seeking merits, those who are in need of merits. We are going to share with them out of compassion and goodwill. We also do these actions as a way of showing our gratitude. In Theokutta Sutta, which we are going to chant in a while, the Buddha encouraged all of us, when we share the merits, to think of our departed ones and remember what they have done for us. Adasime, akasime, nyatimitta hitachime, those my friends, relatives, while they were living, they did this for me, they gave this for me, and thinking in that, produce a sense of gratitude. Be grateful when you share the merits. So today, be happy and joyful that we all got together here for this purpose. And this great meritorious actions that we are going to do is not only beneficial for those who are dead and gone, and they are extremely beneficial for us who are living here and now, because merits bring happiness in this life itself, eternity. Merits also bring hereafter the next pensionate. They will lead us on the path of the Buddha for awakening as well. So be happy and joyful that we all got this opportunity to practice this great meritorious act. May the merits that we are going to acquire through these wholesome actions be a conducive factor for all of us to refrain from the evil, to cultivate the good, to follow the path of the Buddha, and attain bliss of Nibbana.